Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Professional Sports Talk podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jack Murphy. If you're listening to this on Spotify, it's just another episode for you. But for the special some of you who are on my YouTube channel, welcome. This is my first upload. I don't know how long I'm going to be doing this. I don't know how often I'm going to be uploading. Just seeing how this goes, we're going to upload this, kind of test the waters of it all. I'm hoping to eventually get better editing so you guys don't just have to look at me for 10, 30, 50 minutes, however long each episode is. On this episode, I'm only going to be uploading the Super Bowl preview part to YouTube because, again, I don't think you guys want to just look at me for that long. I don't think that'd be entertaining in the slightest. I'm hoping that I can find ways to get graphics in the background, other things in the background, just so it's more pleasing visually. I'm not sure if I have to get a green screen for all that. We're still figuring out the ins and outs of all of that. But I hope this goes well. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you do, be sure to leave a like, share with your friends, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for further videos, further goodness, further NFL latest and greatness. As I like to say, NBA season is coming very soon to this channel, so I'm very excited to start covering that as this NFL season is going to be over after this week. Also getting into all the stuff with the NFL offseason is going to be very exciting. This episode, there's a lot been going on since the last time we talked, so there's going to be a lot to talk about. Like I said, only the Super Bowl preview is going to be up on YouTube for you guys. The rest is just going to be in the normal episode. So if you're on Spotify right now and you're listening to this YouTube shit, just ignore me. If you want to go check it out, it's just under my name, Jack Murphy, right now. You can't really miss it. It's got a banner that says Professional Sports Talk. I'll probably link it in the description of this podcast. And if you're listening on YouTube already, then hey, you're already here. Thanks for coming. And let's get right into some of the news from this week. So obviously we're going to talk about the Super Bowl. Let's get that over with first. Other than that, though, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Tom Brady's official retirement because it is somewhat official, if you want to call it that. I'll get into all that. I'm going to go over Kyler Murray and what's going on with him and the Arizona Cardinals on his social media. And then I'm going to quickly talk about Brian Flores, his lawsuit, and finish up this episode by just some of my quick impressions on some of these coaching hires. A lot of them I don't really have too strong an opinion about because I just don't really know what to expect yet. And I kind of just want to see it all unfold. Some of them I have a little more stronger opinions than others, so we'll cover those. But again, for now, let's just talk about the Super Bowl. Let's talk about the biggest game of them all. And let's just acknowledge how awesome this game is going to be. There are some awesome storylines going in both sides and in both directions. So let's start with the Rams here. The Rams, you've got to give Stafford in his 12th year, who has been 0-3 in the playoffs. You got to give him a lot of attention in this one. He is obviously, his first playoff win was that wild card weekend against the Cardinals. He's kept it rolling. Now he's playing for his first ever Super Bowl. And he's got it. I've got to say, there's something about going from never winning a playoff game to going to a Super Bowl, especially in the first year with your new team. That's got to be a very exclusive list. The only other people that I could find that did that were obviously Tom Brady, who we just saw that last year. And I think that's going to impact a lot of people's opinions on if they should have control over, where they want to go for their future. This could impact guys like, let's say Matthew Stafford wins this game. That's going to be 2 years in a row that quarterbacks on brand new teams are winning the Super Bowl. I think that's really going to send a message to guys like, obviously Aaron Rodgers already wants out. That's going to send a message to guys like Russell Wilson, and now maybe Kyler Murray. We're going to see how that all plays out. But my point is, the only other guys that have really done that after going from, a brand new team and winning the Super Bowl that year. Obviously, we saw Brady do it. I know Trent Dilfer did that, weirdly enough, with the Ravens. I think that was in 2001 in the help of, was that 2001, 2002? I don't know. I was very, very young, if I was even alive at that point. I think I was. But Nick Foles did it as well. Obviously, those last two are a little more fluky. That was very, very good circumstances. And, Big Dick Nick, the legend, was born. Not much else to say about that. So my point is, he'd be joining a very elite category of this game. He'd be sending a message to the rest of the league. He'd be sending a message to a lot of these veteran guys to have control of your own destiny, because he was loyal to the Lions for so long. He had the stomach to say, you know what, I want out of here, and now it's paying off in the biggest way possible if he can manage to win this game. Rams all-in moves are another great storyline in this game. I've been talking about this for a few weeks now. it seems like each and every single week, this is the game that they made all these moves for. This is the game that they've been preparing for. And of course, now this is the biggest test of them all. Can all those offseason moves and midseason moves between OBJ and Von Miller pay off in the biggest stage? I guess we'll come to find out to see. And of course, I need to stop saying, Jesus, sorry about that. Let me get a drink of water. Just settle myself for a second. And of course, there's also sticking with Von Miller and OBJ. They could be gone after this game. They could never play another game in a Rams uniform after this game. So, of course, it's going to be very interesting to see what impact they have in this game. It's going to be very interesting to see how they can add to their legacy. And, of course, what's in store for them next. OBJ has never been in a position like this before. He's never played in a Super Bowl. Von Miller already has a Super Bowl MVP. He's not really arguably already a Hall of Famer. I don't really think that's arguable. I think if he retired after this game, he would be a Hall of Famer one day. OBJ still has a lot up in the air and still a lot left to prove after, one of the best starts to a career we've ever seen from a wide receiver. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes from here. If he wins this ring, is there going to be starting conversations with him and the Hall of Fame? It's going to be very interesting to see, and I'm very, very excited for it. As far as the Bengals storylines goes, honestly, they're in a completely different feeling from the Rams. This team, as far as their legacy goes, it's barely even started. All these guys are very, very young. The Rams have a bunch of veterans who have never won it all and are very hungry to win it all between, Jalen Ramsey, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, obviously. Von Miller's already won one, like I said. OBJ's never won one. But it feels, again, very different for the Bengals just because Burrow, Chase, Higgins, even Mixon. Hopefully they extend Jesse Bates, who's, one of my favorite young safeties in the league. If you've been listening to these podcasts for the last few weeks, you already know that. They're just getting their legacy started. It feels like they have very many more years of dominance ahead of them, whereas a lot of these Rams players, it's not necessarily the end of the road by any means, but in the case of a couple of them, it could be. In the case of others, they could not be on this team shortly here. And in the case of others, they've already been in this league for quite some time and haven't had an opportunity this early on in their career to do something like the Bengals are doing right now. So that's where I really see them from a lot of different points. I'm not saying, the Rams can't be back here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that once they lose this one, it's all over for the Rams. It's just they are losing some key contributors soon. They are getting older. That's all I'm trying to say. But so how about a start to a career for Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow to be able to, your second year out of college in the case of Joe Burrow, your first in the year of in the case of, or I guess second because he held it. You get my point. He's a rookie. Joe Burrow's in his second year. It's amazing that they even have an opportunity to be here. I really, really am excited to see them and how they step up to that moment because as of now, we've seen absolutely no nerves get to them. I don't expect it to in this game either, but it does add a certain element that they're playing. They're at home technically, but they're not. They're the home team, but they're absolutely not at home. The Rams have the home field advantage in this one 100%. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in the biggest game of the year. As far as Burrow goes, if he does win this one, he's just going to be the fifth quarterback in NFL history to win it all in their second year. That's along with guys like Kurt Warner, Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson. That is, very, very good company to be in. Arguably every single one of those, I don't even think arguably, I think every single one of those guys is going to be in the Hall of Fame if they aren't already. I believe Kurt Warner already is. So again, just very good company to be in, and I really hope he can pull it off. Again, talking from the heart here, not my brain, I hope they do it because I think it would just be awesome. I feel like nearly everyone, unless you're from the greater Los Angeles area, wants the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's talk about the odds really quickly of this game. At the time of recording this, the money line is at minus 200 for the Rams, plus 170 for Cincy, with the point spread being at 4.5 points in favor of the Rams, so no longer 4. I believe it opened at 3.5. So obviously very much shifting towards the Rams in this one, over under of 48.5. A lot of the early reports that were saying that the money was going towards Cincy's direction. And I mean, I can't be surprised at all. I think a lot of that just has to do with the Joe Burrow effect, the charisma, the excitement of this young team. The memes, the Joe Burr, Joe Cool, Joe Shiesty, all that shit. I really think that's adding into the hype of this Bengals team. And I think that's why a lot of bettors are taking them earlier in the process, because that's really them voting with their heart, if you know what I mean. And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, it'd be awesome. I think people would rather go down with their money on Joe Burrow than Matthew Stafford, because at the end of the day, it's more likable. And if Matthew Stafford has one of those Matthew Stafford, what the hell happened? He threw 3 picks in the fourth quarter and ends up losing this game. I think people would have a lot harder time dealing with that than just a collapse of the Bengals, as far as maybe like they just can't get over the pass rush of the Rams. And even if it ends up in a total blowout, I think a lot more people will end up feeling better about themselves if they went down with Joe Burrow than Matthew Stafford. At least I would, for sure. So again, let's get to that storyline. One of the biggest storylines in this game, and everyone has been talking about it all week, as they should, because it's one of the biggest mismatches in Super Bowl history, as of recently at least, is this Rams pass rush versus this Bengals pass protection. It's going to be messy. So let's just back up for a second. Obviously, that's a huge storyline. Obviously, it's a huge mismatch on paper. So sticking with odds for a second, let's talk about the MVP odds. Aaron Donald is at plus 1,200 right now for the MVP, and I really like those odds. I'm just going to say it that way. I could easily see him finishing this game with 2.5 plus sacks, 2 or more fumbles. If that type of impact happens, if he has that type of Von Miller performance that we saw 6 years ago, actually, against the Carolina Panthers, I think he could very, very, very easily win the MVP for the Super Bowl. And even if the Bengals throw all their tools at stopping Aaron Donald, there's still Von Miller there. There's still Fred Gaines. There's still Leonard Floyd coming from the other edge. So it doesn't take a genius to say that pass rush is going to have a huge impact in this game. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see, because honestly, every single game that the Bengals have played in this playoff run, their pass protection has not been able to hold up at all. And particularly in that Titans game when Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times for a playoff record and still winning the game. Could we see something similar here? Could we see Joe Burrow just take an immense amount of hits, but Matthew Stafford just throws the game away? Yeah, we could. We've seen him do stuff like that before. I'll save my thoughts on that one, but I don't really see it playing out that way. Again, as much as I hope it does. As far as the Bengals' key to winning is, I just said this. It all depends on how Matthew Stafford plays. Ideally, I think the Rams want to establish the run early, extend their drives, keep Joe Burrow on the sidelines, don't let him get in rhythm with his receivers. And if I was a Rams offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell, I believe it is, who's now a head coach with the Minnesota Vikings after this year. I'll get to that in a little bit. Like I said, I was going to later in this episode. I think you just want to have Matthew Stafford have the easiest game possible. You don't want to put too much on his shoulders. You almost want him to manage the game. And in the same aspect, that's going to help your team altogether. You're a more talented team than the Bengals. That's not a hot take to say. They just are. They need to win as a team. I know that sounds really stupid because it's a team game and it takes everyone to win a football game. But I think they don't need what the fuck? How am I trying to phrase this? I think they need to be careful that they're not too reliant on one position group winning this game for them. I think that they can't get comfortable. They can't get content. They need every single unit to be firing on all cylinders. And obviously, again, you can say that for any single team of any Super Bowl, but we've seen Super Bowls where defenses just take over the game. And we could see that here, but again, the Rams are the more talented football team. They need to use that talent, and they need to be able to spread the ball out, spread the love, let all parts of their team shine, because depth-wise, they're a more talented team than the Cincinnati Bengals. I hope that makes any sense at all. I'm reading this from my notes, and I feel like it's making less sense the more I say it out loud. And the more I was reading it before the show, it made more sense to me for some reason. But my point is they can't be one-dimensional in any way. They need to establish a run early, not to put too much on Matthew Stafford's hands, and go from there. As far as the Bengals go, their key to winning this game, in my opinion, is I think we're going to see some similar looks to what we saw against the Chiefs in that game. I think we're going to see 3 rushing the passer and a ton dropping back to pass and cover the pass. Because even though the Rams do have success running with that zone run game they run, they really want a ton of misdirection. They want your guys running into each other. They want, big clumps that, turn into bodies piling up and running backs and receivers getting by them on the edges of those lines. So I really think that the Cincinnati Bengals need to play the edges, the perimeters of the field very well and force things in the middle of the field, force power runs up the middle. Don't let them get into that zone scheme. Don't let the outside perimeter weapons in Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Van Jefferson take over this game. And think about how we've seen Matthew Stafford make a lot of mistakes in the past. It's been through, of course, throwing down the field, but it's been through throwing down the middle of the field in particularly. We've seen him have some errant throws against the Ravens in throwing down the middle of the field. We've seen him have some errant throws even just 2 weeks ago, I guess now, against the San Francisco 49ers and Jaquiski, trying to say his name once again. It's not going well. Jaquiski Tartt had that dropped interception right in the middle of the field. That was just an absolute terrible ball. So I think they need a similar scheme to that. And I think if the Bengals can just keep their defense spread out, they keep 2 high, even 3 high at times, I think that the run sure might have a little more success that way, but I think it's going to be an easier time stopping down their offense as a whole if you can spread those guys out, get more space between your defenders, and let their eyes do the work. Let the play out in front of them and then fly to the ball, however that might be. So with all this being said, if the Bengals do take this approach, can the Rams change their style of running? If they don't, can Matthew Stafford, pull a clutch? Can Matthew Stafford put the team on his back? And again, I really don't think he'll need to, because I think this is just a more talented football team, and I think in a lot of ways the Bengals don't match up well with the Rams, of course, starting with their offensive line, the Rams' defensive line. So let me just cut to the chase here. I want the Bengals to win, if you can't tell already. I think I'm going to bet with my heart and take their money line. That's not really what I'd recommend doing, but if you want a better time on Super Bowl weekend, or not even like a better time necessarily, if you just want to have if you want like a team to root for and you just want a good game, I would take Bengals money line, because why not? Take an underdog, fun story, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they're likable. But truthfully, I should want the Rams to win. I'm from, Southern California. Rams haven't been here too long, so that's kind of why I don't consider it. If you guys know me, I'm a Bears fan, so I don't really give a shit about all that. But as underdogs and the hype around Burrow and Chase, I just want to see that happen. Using my brain, I should take the Rams and the spread. They're a veteran team. They have an experienced, proven head coach. Zach Taylor really hasn't done much in this league at all before this year. A lot of hungry guys who still have a lot to prove in their career and with a lot on the line. Like I said, Aaron Donald, the rest of that D-line against this Bengals O-line is just an insane mismatch. So I guess if I had to pick a score, I guess I'd say the Rams will probably win 26-23. If I had to take a bet, I'm going to take the Bengals money line, which I'm probably going to be wrong about, and I'm completely fine with it. I just would rather, again, like I said earlier, I'd rather go down with Burrow than go down with Stafford and watch Stafford, be up by 10 in the fourth quarter, throw a couple picks, and have them choke up, which, by the way, is not out of the equation. We've seen that happen from the Rams before. We've now seen the Chiefs make a comeback win against the Chiefs, which is considered one of the teams hardest to come back from in the NFL when you're down to them. So again, if the Rams are up by 10, all I'm saying is don't walk away from your TV. Just watch this game to the very end, because anything can happen in this one. Both of these teams can create magic, and I'm extremely here for it. That's going to be it for the YouTube video for all you guys watching on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, please let me know by leaving a comment. Share this with your friends. Like the video, would mean a whole lot. And please subscribe for further episodes. I'm going to end this recording here. All you guys who are listening to my podcast on Spotify, I'm going to keep going with the rest of the storylines going on, starting with Brady's retirement. All you YouTube guys, thank you so much for watching. Peace out. Have a great rest of your day. And the usual.